some of the other things that they need for video are...
All right. So, for my class, because we were doing so many podcasts, we had 2 video cameras with 2 microphones. Now, usually the microphones will have a cord. I photoshopped the cord out of there to plug into the camera. Usually the microphones, the built-in microphones on the camcorders, they're not very good. They're great if it's a very static room where you have no other outside noise. But beyond that, if they're shooting outside or in a noisy environment, the shotgun microphone, and this one was about $50. It's not the best one. I recently just upgraded, but it's good enough for what they need. And it makes the world of difference for capturing sound when they are 10, even 5 feet away from the camera. Then I had a backup camera, and I'll tell you why I use the backup camera. Now, this backup camera, you can have a regular mini DV camera for your backup, or I just went and bought, this was about $100. And it uses an SD card, and it's really crappy quality, but I'll tell you why it didn't matter. Okay, it's just backup, and there's a specific role for it, and it's a very important role mainly if you're in a monolinguistic environment. Okay, and the last thing was a computer. Now, I use Macs, but you can easily use PCs for this as well. I love the Mac, but PCs have more advantage. Most students have PCs at home, Windows-based computers at home, than they do have Macs. So that's what I used. I had 2 of each because the way I structured it, 2 groups were going simultaneously each week. Now, if you don't have the funds for it, just get 1 of each. If you don't have the funds for a camera, have them use their cell phones. That's fine. Whatever you can get. A lot of them will have or your schools might have still cameras that have film capabilities. It won't be as sharp of a movie, but it's still good. I used as high quality as I had a budget for, because the higher the quality that they output it, the more motivation they have. If they feel like they're making professional or high amateur looking films, they're going to have a much higher motivation to continue on. Okay. If you don't have the equipment, beg, borrow, steal. Okay? This is what I used. This is my office. We don't have a Mac lab, so they're in my office doing all their editing. That monitor is probably 10 years old. That's not even my monitor. That's his monitor I stole from his office because he wasn't using it. I had another similar monitor right there. And then the nice computer, that was my computer. Now, the second semester, I used my laptop. I gave them that computer that they had, and they used. Now, you can't really see, but the monitors are attached to little Mac Minis, and Mac Minis are about $700. They don't come with a monitor or keyboard. So, again, the second Mac Mini, it's down on the bottom. It's his. I stole it from him. He borrowed it from him. That's right. Okay? So, then the second year, I upgraded. Nice monitor.
Still a Mini.
Still hooked to a Mini. And then a G5. How did I didn't have a budget. A departing teacher left. That was his equipment. I rushed down and said, I need that equipment. They signed it to me. Okay, so look for computers that your school's not using. Okay? Look, do whatever it takes legally that you're allowed to. Try. Now, if you can't, ask your government what they can do for you. I'm not going to butcher Kennedy's quote. You have Title II funding, Title III funding, Title V funding. Okay, write a grant proposal to get money. Title V innovative programs. Title III English language acquisition. I'm not going to read all that. You can find out this information online. Just Google search just do Title III funding. Title II, enhancing education through technology. This is definitely technology. This is definitely English language acquisition. This is definitely an innovative program. If you don't have grant writing experience, someone in your department, someone in your school, if you're middle school or secondary, talk to your union rep. They might have some program that'll teach you about grant writing. Or post-secondary, I don't know if this is only for K through 12.
Title V did cut for next year, so.
What?
Title V did cut for next year.
Okay, never mind. I've been out of the States for so long, I don't know. So, but there's alternative routes to go. Research that for where you can find funds to purchase this equipment. Okay? Time.
24.
Ooh. Ugh.
Yeah.
Looks right.
So, all right, so one of the things that you're going to need to do is budget the time for the students. The audio program was pretty simple. What we did was they did the recordings outside of class, and I gave them generously class time to come in, get through most of the stuff. Because the way I had this set up, my projects were due at midnight. They didn't have to give them to me. They had to put them up in the podcast feed, and we'll talk about what companies I used in a minute. It was all free. They had to put it in the podcast feed. When I clicked refresh on my iTunes the next morning when I came into work, it was there. If it wasn't there, they got a penalty for it. And because of the way that the ID tags work, I could tell what time they uploaded it. So there was no cheating because they didn't have any control over what time that ID file said. So
Okay. So that was going.
that was that.
For mine, since they had no experience editing film, they had no experience in film whatsoever, the first part of the semester was I took 2-3 weeks on just basic fundamental filmmaking. Watched clips, talked about different lessons. Izzy Video, it's a podcast, and now he's charging for all his archives. But Izzy Video, izzyvideo.com, is an excellent source. He makes the basics of filmmaking very, very easily understandable for you and your students. Okay? Now, for what we did, I had them in groups of 4 or 5. Each person had a different role. We'll talk about that in a moment. They would film 1 week, the next week...
Next week, and then they would prepare for the project the 3rd week.
Exactly.
So they were always on a rotating schedule. And the one nice thing about this is the students had a time limit. You only had the camera for 1 week. The next week you had computer time but no camera. The 3rd week you had neither camera nor anything, so you're preparing for the next set.
And so they had 6 groups. And so it was pretty structured when they could use the equipment and when they couldn't. Now, that way again, nets you around 40 assignments per year. That's crazy. Okay? I'm crazy. I'm a slave driver to my students. Work with whatever you have. If you have 24 students and you're new to this and they're new to this, have one group do 1 assignment per semester. If you have 1 camera, they do it, they edit, and then the next group. And then they're finished for their video assignment. And that's fine until you get your own video legs under you and you can push it a little more. Now, I was working, if you were in here earlier watching the examples, I had high-level students. This year I'm teaching lower-level students, I'm slowing it down. Okay, so again, don't try to fit this into your schedule if it's impossible. Work with whatever time you have.